Hola, amigos, and welcome to Keyframers. I'm Stephen Shaw.
And I am David Khorshid.
Let's take a quick look at a technique from this scroll-triggered flip animation that we built. Let's talk a little bit about Internet Explorer.
Yes, the internet.
Let's talk about Intersection Observer. This is kind of a built-in browser API for tracking kind of scroll changes. Basically, all of the scroll tracking libraries out there, this is kind of meant to do some of that, but it's kind of a weird API. So a lot of people haven't really jumped into using it, but it's really great for doing kind of scroll triggered animations like this. So what we've done is we've built this kind of wrapper function to just help us out. This track scroll position, and what this is doing, it's setting up a new intersection observer. This is the browser API. And that takes two arguments here. The first one is a function that whenever the scroll change kind of trigger happens, it runs this function. And then the second one is just kind of a options object. The great thing about intersection observer over like doing an on scroll kind of trigger is that you can. It's a lot more performant. It's not triggering every time you scroll. It's only triggering when something intersects. So, for instance, when this is intersecting with the edge of the viewport. So what we've set up here is we're actually just tracking the scroll position. So 1 equals it's off the bottom of the viewport. 0 is in the viewport, and -1 is off the top of the viewport. And this allows us to know is the element off screen on the bottom, is it visible, or is it off the top? We're really only interested in these two, 0 and -1, and we can use that. Let me take off all the fancy flipping stuff that we're doing that you can go back and see the other videos about. But at its most basic, we've just got data scroll position equals -1 on our action button container here that we're running the track scroll position on, and we're setting that data attribute here. So whenever we actually trigger that change, we're kind of just toggling between these two elements. So we have a fixed element and a static element. The fixed one is this floating kind of plus button, and then the static one stays in the flow. This way we're not like moving an element from the static layout into a fixed position, because then you have to do all sorts of calculations to prevent like content jumping and like the scroll position changing and like all this kind of wild stuff. So by doing two separate elements and just animating between them, or in this case, kind of toggling between them, you get that same kind of effect, and it's much easier to actually control and work with. Have you done much with Intersection Observer, David?
I have not. I played around with it a few months ago, but very briefly.
It is such a weird little API that not a lot of people have really gotten familiar with, because it's so different than like true scroll tracking libraries and all of that. But it can do a lot of that same stuff. You just have to kind of get familiar with the API. But it gives you the bounding client rectangle, the ratio of intersection, like all this really great information that you can use to kind of do these fun scroll triggers.
So you can watch the full process of creating this animation for a deeper dive into each one of the techniques that we talked about on the full live stream links below. You could also leave us a comment if you have any questions, and we'll be sure to answer them.
Our show is supported by our sponsors, CodePen at codepin.io, CSS Tricks at css-tricks.com, and viewers like you can pledge at patreon.com/keyframers and subscribe to our channel for more great content. We've got plenty of links available below. That's all we have for you now. Until next time, adios, amigos.
Adios.